Dish counting Clark. Clark steps back for three. Buries it. What happens when the past decides to step into the future? You're Caitlin Clark, the most hyped rookie in modern basketball history. Records demolished. Arenas packed. A league reshaped around your presence before your professional journey even officially starts. And then he arrives. Larry Bird, a figure who doesn't mentor casually, doesn't hand out endorsements, doesn't waste breath. A symbol of a tougher era where greatness wasn't advertised, it was imposed. This wasn't admiration. It was a signal. Because what Bird shared with Clark in private wasn't about range numbers or spotlight. It was about something far more dangerous. The side of the game that breaks players who aren't built for it. One of the things the staff emphasized all season was getting Clark moving without the ball more. Here's Clark attacking and finishing Caitlin Clark. And from that instant forward, everything shifted. This isn't a story about hype. It's a story about control and how one conversation may have silently altered the direction of the WNBA. 2 generations, 1 battleground. To truly understand why Larry Bird's words struck Caitlin Clark so deeply, you first have to understand where both of them come from. And this isn't about draft slots or college accolades. It's about the soil, the environment, the psychological wiring that forms when you grow up in America's heartland with nothing but a hoop, a driveway, and a relentless refusal to be outworked by anyone alive. Larry Bird was born on December 7, 1956, in West Baden Springs, Indiana, and raised in French Lick, a town so small that its high school gym was the largest building most residents would ever enter. His upbringing was far from easy. His family struggled financially. His parents separated, and his father died by suicide while Larry was still in his teens. Basketball wasn't just something Bird enjoyed. It was survival. It was the only thing that made sense in a world that often didn't. He played at Springs Valley High School, was recruited to Indiana University under Bob Knight, dropped out after just 1 month because the campus felt overwhelming, returned to French Lick, worked as a garbage truck driver, and eventually found his way to Indiana State University, where he became legendary. He led the Sycamores to the 1979 NCAA championship game against Magic Johnson's Michigan State, a clash that drew the highest TV ratings in college basketball history and effectively launched the modern era of televised basketball. Caitlin Clark was born on January 22, 2002, in Des Moines, Iowa, and raised in West Des Moines. Different state, same heartland roots, same endless cornfields, same blue-collar mentality, ingrained before you even learned to dribble. She attended Dowling Catholic High School, earned McDonald's All-American honors, and was ranked the 4th best player in her class by ESPN. She chose Iowa over every powerhouse program in the nation. Across 4 seasons with the Hawkeyes, she became the all-time leading scorer in NCAA Division I history, men's or women's, surpassing Pete Maravich's long-standing record. She won National Player of the Year twice. One of the biggest adjustments this season was getting Clark to operate off the ball more. Here she is driving and finishing. She led Iowa to consecutive national championship game appearances. And she did it all with visible joy and a shooting range, so deep it turned her into a cultural phenomenon before she even turned pro. Now this is where the connection between Bird and Clark becomes almost uncanny. When Larry Bird entered the NBA in 1979, the league was in serious trouble. That's not exaggeration. NBA Finals games were airing on tape delay. Attendance was declining. Multiple franchises were bleeding money. The average American sports fan had lost interest. The NBA desperately needed a savior, and it got 2, Bird and Magic Johnson. But Bird was the one who transformed the franchise immediately. The Boston Celtics had won just 29 games a year before he arrived. Pull up 3. That one drops. They've hit 12 threes. In his rookie season, Bird averaged 21. 3 points, 10. 4 rebounds, and 4. 5 assists, 1 Rookie of the Year, and led those same Celtics to 61 wins, a 32-game improvement with essentially the same roster. It remains one of the biggest single-season turnarounds in NBA history. He didn't just play in Boston. He revived the franchise, and alongside Magic in Los Angeles, revived the entire league. Fast forward to 2024 and 2025, and the WNBA found itself at a strikingly similar turning point. The league had talent. It had history, but it lacked a mainstream casual audience that turned the league into a cultural powerhouse. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and everything changed. The Indiana Fever averaged 17,035 fans per home game in 2024, an all-time WNBA record for any team. Clark channeling a bit of Chelsea Gray magic there. What a finish. League-wide attendance reached its highest level since 1999. Clark's rookie season was a statistical explosion. She averaged 19. 2 points, a league-leading 8. 4 assists and 5. 7 rebounds. She set the single-season assist record with 337. Broke the single-game assist record with 19 against the Dallas Wings. Became the first rookie in WNBA history to record a triple-double, and then did it again. She led the Fever to a 20-20 record in their first playoff appearance since 2016, reviving a franchise that had won just 18 games combined in the previous 2 seasons. She won Rookie of the Year with 66 of 67 votes. Caitlin Clark has officially been named the 2024 Rookie of the Year. She was also selected to the All-WNBA First Team, becoming only the 5th rookie in league history to earn that distinction. The Caitlin Clark effect wasn't marketing hype. It was a measurable earthquake. And when she suffered a quad injury in May 2025 and was ruled out for the remainder of the season after just 13 games, the impact was undeniable. National WNBA viewership dropped 55%. Fever-specific national broadcasts fell 53%. Games that were averaging 8 million viewers before her injury dropped below 850,000 afterward. The 2025 All-Star Game, played without Clark in her own arena at Gamebridge Field. Handles. He didn't talk about her crossover. He talked about the target on her back, the silence of the assassin, Bird's hidden message. So what exactly did Larry Bird tell Caitlin Clark behind closed doors? According to insiders and people close to both sides, his core message revolved around a principle he lived by throughout his career. He called it the silence of greatness. And to understand why that hit Clark so hard, you have to understand the storm she was already navigating before that conversation ever happened. In her early months in the WNBA, Caitlin was reactive. Stanford University, 2022. And this is Caitlin Clark introducing herself. Completely, understandably human. She committed 10 turnovers in her professional debut, a 92-71 loss to the Connecticut Sun. In her first month, she averaged nearly as many turnovers as assists, 5, 7-6, 6 across 9 games in May, while shooting just 37, 7% from the field. The Fever went 1-8 during that stretch. The physicality was relentless. Veterans delivered hard fouls and body language that sent a clear message. Welcome to the real league. She picked up 6 technical fouls during her rookie season, just one short of the automatic suspension threshold. In fact, her own teammates had to step in during a late regular season game to keep her from getting that 7th technical. And the noise online, it was nonstop, and it was brutal. Hot takes were flying in from every angle. Some fans supported her without hesitation. Others were determined to bring her down for reasons that often had nothing to do with basketball. Every performance became a judgment. Every missed shot turned into a meme. Every defeat became proof for someone that she wasn't who they believed she was. And Caitlin Clark, being an ultra-competitive player who thrives on energy and emotion, was taking all of it in. She was arguing with referees after questionable calls. She was allowing the physicality to disrupt her flow. She was spending emotional energy on conflicts that had nothing to do with actually winning games. Guess who else was watching her? Tara Vanderveer, Stanford. Meanwhile, Clark pushing quickly. And then Larry Bird stepped into the room and removed the noise completely. According to reports that surfaced later, Bird told her something brutally simple. Don't defeat them with words. Defeat them with their own expectations. Bird explained that the moment Caitlin shows frustration, whether it's arguing a call, reacting to contact, or engaging with trash talk, she gives opponents exactly what they're looking for. She validates their plan. She confirms that the psychological pressure is working, handing them a win that has nothing to do with the scoreboard. He connected it back to the legendary Celtics, Lakers rivalry, the most iconic clash in basketball history. He told her that Magic Johnson's greatest weapon was his smile. Magic could drop 40 points on you and still make it feel like you had just shared a friendly evening together. But Bird was different. He was the assassin. Michael Jordan, one of the fiercest competitors ever, once warned his rookie teammate B.J. Armstrong before facing Boston. Nobody talks to Larry Bird. Not a single word. Jordan later said Bird was the greatest trash talker and psychological manipulator he had ever seen, and credited him for teaching him how to get inside opponents' minds. But Bird's trash talk wasn't loud. It was precise, calculated. He would tell you exactly what he was about to do, execute it, and then just stare, silent. That silence after the dagger hurt more than anything he could have said. Bird told Caitlin that she possesses that same assassin's instinct, the cold-blooded ability to end games with the ball in her hands. He had seen it in her logo range shots at Iowa, in the way she threaded impossible passes through traffic, in how her eyes scanned the entire floor the moment she crossed half-court. But she was wasting that instinct on referees, burning her edge on reactions instead of channeling it into the one thing that can't be debated, dominance. He told her to stop reacting and start controlling, stop playing their game and force them to play hers, stop chasing validation from people who were never going to give it, and let the scoreboard speak for her for the rest of her career. This wasn't motivation. It wasn't a locker room speech. It was a psychological blueprint from someone who walked the same path decades earlier and came out with 3 championships, 3 MVP awards, and a legacy that still defines the sport. Clark evolved, and the film proves it. Now step away from the emotion and look at the footage, because what makes Bird's advice powerful is that it produced a visible, measurable, undeniable transformation in how Caitlin Clark plays. And the numbers confirm it. Before that meeting with Bird, during her turbulent early stretch, Caitlin was playing under the pressure of the Caitlin Clark brand, capital B, and 12 assists now for Seattle. Clark. Fans were paying premium prices just to see her pull up on the logo. They wanted highlights. They wanted deep threes that electrified arenas. They wanted viral moments. And Caitlin, being fueled by that energy, was trying to deliver. She was forcing deep shots at the wrong times, playing hero ball when defenses were literally baiting her into doing just that. Her assist-to-turnover ratio was unstable, swinging wildly because she was trying to be the show instead of running the show. It created incredible clips, viral moments within seconds, but it also contributed to a 1-8 start and turnover numbers that critics held on to relentlessly. Then came the shift. After her conversation with Bird, the film shows a completely different version of Caitlin Clark, and it's impossible to miss. The first change is timing. She began moving the ball roughly 2 seconds earlier than before. In basketball, 2 seconds is everything. Instead of holding the ball and waiting for double teams to fully form, she was making a quick advance pass or finding open shooters the moment help defense even hinted at leaving their assignment. She started punishing the double team before it could even exist. This is what analysts call gravity, and it's the most Bird-like trait in Caitlin Clark's game. Larry Bird was arguably the greatest ever at bending defenses without even touching the ball. He could stand on the wing, and every defender would instinctively shift toward him. Larry Bird enters to a standing ovation inside Boston Garden. That movement created space, open lanes, freed cutters. The entire defense would warp around his presence. His career average of 6. 3 assists as a forward was extraordinary for his era, and it was a direct result of that gravitational pull. Caitlin began replicating this at an elite level. The data from her post-Olympic break surge in 2024 tells the story clearly. Caitlin Clark left off the Olympic roster despite leading rookies in scoring and assists. What do you think about that? After the league resumed following the Paris Olympics, Caitlin averaged 24, 7 points and 9, 3 assists over a 10-game stretch, leading the Fever to an 8-2 run, including their first 5-game winning streak since 2015. Her efficiency improved. Her turnovers declined. The Fever transformed from predictable one-player offense into a dynamic, multi-layered system. And the biggest beneficiary was Aaliyah Boston, with Caitlin drawing constant defensive attention and instantly punishing overcommitment with precision passes. The paint opened up like never before. Boston, the previous Rookie of the Year, suddenly had room to dominate. Boston spins. This is why she's a top candidate for Rookie of the Year. The Fever's offense shifted from chaotic to controlled, and the influence of Bird was visible in every possession. Bird also shared something personal, his own biggest frustration during the Celtics' dominance in the 1980s. His basketball IQ was so advanced that it actually confused his teammates. He would pass the ball to spots before they arrived, only for them to be caught off guard. He had to develop what he called the art of the attainable, learning how to simplify, how to match his brilliance to his teammates' timing, while still seeing the entire game at a higher level internally. He passed that lesson on to Caitlin. Stop throwing the impossible pass no one can handle. Make the pass your teammate is ready for. Put the ball where they need it, when they need it, not where theory says it should go. Caitlin absorbed this completely, and it shows on film. Her 19-assist performance against the Dallas Wings, which broke Courtney Vandersloot's all-time single-game record, Clark behind the back, wasn't built on flashy no-look passes. It was a masterclass in timing, placement, and understanding exactly what each teammate needed in every moment. She stopped playing against offenders and started playing with the structure of the game itself, the CEO of the league. But Bird didn't stop with strategy or gameplay. The most intriguing part of this mentorship is what he told Caitlin about her value, not just as a player, but as a force. Bird publicly argued that Caitlin Clark shouldn't just be viewed as an athlete. She should be treated with the influence and importance of her own franchise. And when addressing how veterans treated her during her rookie season, Caitlin Clark named Rookie of the Year. The number 1 pick shattered records in her first season in the WNBA. He spoke with the blunt honesty only Bird can deliver. He compared it directly to his own arrival in Boston in 1979. Veterans didn't like him either. They didn't like the attention. They didn't like a rookie becoming the face of everything overnight. But Bird said the smart ones figured it out. They realized he wasn't taking anything from them. He was multiplying everything. He was the reason their salaries would increase, the reason the league would grow. He called Caitlin that same rising tide, and said anyone fighting her was ultimately fighting their own future earnings. Bird's message was about identity. He told Caitlin she wasn't just playing for the Indiana Fever. She was the CEO of the league's future. That is a massive psychological adjustment for a 22-year-old. It's one thing to be the best player on your team. It's something entirely different to accept that you are the financial engine of an entire professional league, and to carry that weight without letting it steal your joy for the game. Larry Bird helped Caitlin Clark stop chasing approval from the old guard. He helped her stop apologizing for sold-out arenas, record-breaking TV numbers, and the reality that her presence alone shifts the financial outlook of every team she faces. He told her that in professional sports, respect is never handed out in handshakes. It's taken during competition. Always. And then 2025 arrived, and everything Bird told her faced the ultimate test. Not the one he expected. Not a test of dominance, but a test of resilience. Caitlin played only 13 games before a series of soft tissue injuries ended her season. She looked like she was clearly in discomfort there, just 4 games after returning from that groin issue. She strained her left quad on May 24th against the New York Liberty. She came back on June 14th, played 5 games, then went down again with a left groin injury that forced her to miss the Commissioner's Cup final and the All-Star game she was set to captain in her own arena. She returned again in July, played 4 games, helped the Fever go 3-1 in that stretch, and then suffered a right groin injury against the Connecticut Sun on July 15th. That was it. She never stepped on the court again that season. On September 4th, she posted on social media that her season was over. Disappointed wasn't enough to capture how she felt. But this is where the Bird mentorship reveals its deepest impact. Caitlin didn't disappear. She didn't shut down. She didn't detach. She became the most vocal presence on the bench, cheering her teammates with an intensity that cameras picked up every single game. She became the emotional engine of what fans began calling the bench mob. When the Fever, battered by injuries to multiple key players, including Clark herself, still managed to secure the 6th seed in the playoffs, she was right there, loud, engaged, leading. When Indiana defeated the Atlanta Dream in a decisive Game 3, on the road to secure their first playoff series win in a decade, Caitlin was already on her feet before the final buzzer. Aaliyah Boston hit the go-ahead layup with 7. For seconds remaining, and Lexi Hull sealed it with a clutch interception on the inbound. Clark was living every second of it from the sideline when the Fever pushed the Las Vegas Aces to a deciding Game 5 in the semifinals, eventually falling 107-98 in overtime after Kelsey Mitchell went down with cramps and Boston fouled out. Clark's voice never faded. Afterward, she posted simply, "So much to be proud of. Shout out to the fans for sticking with us all year." She even picked up a $200 fine from the WNBA after posting "Refs couldn't stop us" on Instagram, arguably the most Larry Bird-like moment of her season. That's the Bird effect. Not just on the court, but in the mind. The understanding that your value to a team and to an entire league doesn't disappear just because you're on the bench in street clothes. The understanding that leadership isn't defined by who scores. It's defined by who sets the tone. Bird told her she was the CEO. And when the organization hit crisis mode, the CEO didn't hide. There comes a moment in every great career when talent alone stops being enough. For Caitlin Clark, that moment didn't arrive with a game-winning shot. It came quietly on the bench, injured, watching, processing, and somewhere in that silence, the voice of Larry Bird grew louder, not teaching her how to score, but how to control, because the players who truly last, the ones who bend an entire league to their will, don't just react to the game. They dictate it, quietly, patiently, inevitably. And if that mindset is already taking hold, then everything we've seen so far isn't the peak. It's just the beginning. So when she steps back onto the court, fully healthy, fully recalibrated, the question isn't whether she'll be great. It's this: what happens when a player who already changed the game finally learns how to own it?